Good morning. This is John from the Springs Mennonite Church. It's good to be with you today. Here we are at the beginning of a brand new week. Another whole week to think about God and learn a bit about Him, maybe. This morning, I'd like to share a passage from, it's one of my favorite chapters in the Bible. It comes from the book of Lamentations, in chapter 3. And I want to read verses 31, 32, 33, and then go back and read 22 and 23. So let's see what it says here. Verse 31. For no one is abandoned by the Lord forever. Though he brings grief, he also shows compassion because of the greatness of his unfailing love. For he does not enjoy hurting people or causing them sorrow. Verse 22. The faithful love of the Lord never ends. His mercies never cease. Great is his faithfulness. His mercies begin afresh each morning. Well, I read them out of the order that they appear to help see the context of this passage. See, the first part I read, for no one is abandoned by the Lord forever. A lot of people seem to think that God has left them or is out to get them, or at the very least, doesn't care. Now, I can kind of understand that feeling. I mean, lots of things happen in life. And when bad things happen to you over and over and over again, or good things don't happen over and over and over again, it's easy to start blaming somebody. And oftentimes, we don't want to blame ourselves, and we don't want to blame someone else. So we take it out on God and figure it's His fault. But God isn't a God like that. It says that no one is ever abandoned forever. Now, that implies that there are seasons when God isn't close by, but it's not so much God isn't close by, but we're not close to God. You see, God doesn't leave anybody. People leave Him, or at least they try to, and they ignore Him, and they forget about Him, and they do something else. And perhaps you've done that. Um, human beings are human beings. And you're really no different than anybody else in that regard. It says, though he brings grief, he has shown compassion. Now, what does it mean? He brings grief. Well, you'd be tempted to suggest that God is capricious here, and sometimes he's good and sometimes he's mean. But that's not true. He doesn't actually bring the grief as much as he allows the grief. You see, God knows what it's going to take to get your attention. It's sort of like the alcoholic who says, I don't have a drinking problem. I can stop whenever I want to. And then you have to wait until that person really hits what we call rock bottom, to where that person says, I have a problem. Now, did God cause all of the stuff leading up to the person getting to that place? No. God allowed it because he wanted to get the person's love, and he wants God to come. God wants us to come to him willingly. So he allows things to happen that ultimately will draw us closer to him if we do that. It says here, because the greatness of his unfailing love. That's why he does it. Parents have to let kids make mistakes. Even big parents, like older folks with older kids. You can't control them. You can't dictate to them all the time. They have to learn. And in order to learn, they have to make mistakes. Now, what's critical is whether they learn through the mistake in order to come out at a better place, or whether they just learn to repeat the mistakes. And parents don't help their children when they constantly bail them out. They begin to feel entitled to not ever having experienced anything. But yet, in this life, you're going to experience some bad things. It'll catch up to you. It might take a long time, but it'll happen. That you can count on. And so when it does happen, the question is, where is God? What's he doing? Well, what he's doing, the same thing he's always been doing, waiting for you with arms open wide. That's where verse 22 comes in. The faithful love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never end. Great is his faithfulness. And they begin afresh each morning. Every day. Whatever yesterday was, whatever today is starting out to be, every day, God waits to show you his love and compassion and grace. Now, maybe you're too busy to see it. Maybe you're too worried about the future, or to even about the moment, to even ask God. Maybe God just isn't part of your life. But that can change. Each of us, at any moment, can come to God and know that he hears us. I mean, just the other day, I got a phone call, desperate, from someone who has a loved one that's sick. And I wish I had a magic pill for all that. I wish I were Jesus, that I could just touch everybody or speak to and then be made whole. I've wished that my whole life. I've prayed for a lot who have gotten well. And I've seen miracles work in my life. And I expect I'll see more even in the years I still have left. But that doesn't happen all the time for me. I wish it did. But yet, even at that moment, we're still in God's hands. His faithful love never ceases. His mercies never ever end. And that's the point. Even in the midst of the times when we think God has abandoned us. Even when we think somehow he's trying to make our lives miserable. You know, sometimes we're like teenagers who think their parents have a special gift at making their lives miserable. And maybe some parents do that, but most don't. And God never does. He loves you and he cares about you. So this week, think about that. If you have a concern or a need, let us know. We'll do whatever we can to help meet your need. So until next time, God bless you. I'll talk to you again.